Okay, I'm back. Let's see if I have a better connection. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the lost cause. There was a little thing on Facebook that I got involved in about the should we take down the Confederate monuments in Richmond? And if you've never been to Richmond, you would be amazed, particularly on Monument Avenue and all throughout the city, of these huge, fabulous statues of Confederate generals, right? And even if you go in every courthouse in the South, here in Nottoway, the fixed point is their Confederate statue, usually of a Confederate soldier, like in Nottoway, with the names of the fallen, those who sacrificed for the lost cause. And I'm suddenly reminded of the Middle Ages and the Knights of the Round Table and the feudal age, when knights were chivalrous, and the knight was a symbol of the heroic warrior. He wasn't the herd of soldiers that marched in sync. He was an army unto himself. He was covered in armor, so he was impervious to the arrows and the slings. And so he was a tank. He was a force. And only another knight could defeat another knight. Like, these were the masters. These were the samurai. These were the invincible warriors coated in steel, their horses armored, their lances so heavy that you couldn't pick it up. And they fought with honor. And they would wear the scarf of their beloved, write poetry to the goddess that favors them, you see. So they would go into battle with honor and glory. And it was a great, this is all mythology. We don't really know what it was like, but this is the mythology. And then there was the book by Cervantes at the end of the Middle Ages about Don Quixote. And Don Quixote was living the life of the chivalrous knight, but the age had changed. But he was a knight, so he needed dragons. So he went on all these adventures, but they were all kind of like trumps, in that they fell flat. And he attacked a windmill because he thought it was a dragon. That's the famous image, you know. It looks like a dragon. I'm a knight. I've got a dragon, finally. And he charges and attacks the windmill. But it was just a windmill. But I am taking this, went to the doctors about this phlegm in my chest, and they gave me a cocktail. It wasn't a martini, but it was a steroids antibiotic cocktail, and it seems to be working, but when I start talking, it comes up. So I've been looking into why we seem to be at a time when mythology is collapsing, when the grip of the past is being relaxed. And suddenly the Confederate flags are going to the museum, and some cities are braving the storm and taking down the monuments, putting them in a museum. And now Richmond seems to be the home. It was a capital. It was bombarded. It was under siege, just like the Russian cities were under siege by the Germans. Richmond and Petersburg were under siege by the northern hoards, these yankees. The mythology is still there. These knights on horses, these monuments that are frozen in time, they're like statues of the gods in the Roman Empire. These are our gods of the past, and battles of the Civil War are reenacted with great detail. I used to go to these reenactments and take photographs. And you have the purists and you have the liberals. You have the purists who everything is exact Civil War, even the underwear, and it would be a sin to have anything that was not authentic. And then you have the liberals who, well, I got my own underwear, you know, and you know, I bought the, you know, it's a little loose, you know. Or it's like vegetarians who are vegans, or, oh, well, you know, I had just had a McDonald's, but who, you know. So anyway, you have this purity, this desire to be to reenact it exactly. It's kind of like the scriptures, wanting to read the scriptures literally. Don't make any interpolations or additions or anything. You have to go back to the original purity, you see. My phone's ringing. And so there's this mythology that fixes the South, and each one of these statues is a fixing. It's like the Kaaba or Mecca. You know, everywhere you go, this is the fixed point. Remember the South. Remember the lost cause. Remember the ancestors. And remember, you know, and never forget, you know, this fixation, this hold, this living in this fixed, frozen past that keeps reenacting in our politics. So even in our Southern politics, it's a reenactment of the Civil War, where the federal government is the enemy and the liberals are the Yankees, and they're trying to come and take away my freedoms. And even on the flag, I was just informed, somebody said the meaning of the Confederate flag. Well, he said it's all about Christian liberty. We're fighting for our Christian liberty. And that's our Southern Republican politics today. Christian liberty. And I ask, you know, what is that? I think it's very ironic, you know, that what does Christian liberty mean? It's who is enslaving the Christians? And I guess they're white Christians. Who is enslaving them? And you know what? Who, you know, is it the North? Who is enslaving the white Christians? And it seems to be ironic that suddenly now, instead of the black slaves wanting to be freedom, it's their white ancestors, or the generation. You know, it's the white people that want freedom. Now the white people are the slaves, and the black people are free. And where it used to be the black people that were slaves and the white ones are free. I think it's kind of funny. But it seems to be a need to have a lost cause. And then I remember the movie in the 50s that really was very significant. It was Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. And you have Don Quixote, who was a rebel without a cause, or let's say a knight without a cause. So if you find meaning in being a rebel, if you find meaning in being a knight, a chivalrous knight who will die for valor and honor, you see, who will fight a duel to preserve his honor. This chivalry and honor gives value to life. And in a modern world where it's just humdum, go to work, do a routine job, come home, wash the dishes, take care of the baby, go to sleep, get up, go back to work in a meaningless job. We need meaning and valor and something to give us a cause, you see. A cause to be, a cause to live, a cause to get up in the morning, you see. A cause, a purpose, you see. But this fixes it in the past, you see. So it's fixed in the past. So when you fixate your meaning in the present on the past, you have to reenact the past in new forms, in new conditions, in new uniforms, in order to maintain the meaning of the past, you see. You see how that works? If you fix, in a personal life, it's the same way. If I fixate my meaning of life on some wound or grief or something that happened to me, I am doomed to reenact it. And I don't recognize it because it comes in a new form, in a new time, in new conditions. And I think it's a new contest, it's a new conflict, it's a new problem. But it's really the old fixed grievance and wound and cause that has not been dissolved, that's not been forgiven, that's not been let go of. Because when we look around at the modern world, the scientific, rational world, the science world, the scientific, rational world tells you how things work, but it doesn't tell you, excuse me, it doesn't tell you why. Science tells you how, but it doesn't give you any meaning or value. It just tells you that you're just a thing bumping around with other things, working under laws of science, you know, and you're here basically by chance. You see, so you're an accident. So that doesn't give us any meaning, you know. So it's a quest for meaning. And the South, because of its the war was fought in the South, and so because of the wounds in the memories in the communities here, passed down through the generations. My great-great-grandfather fought in the war. He was captured and put in prison and then released. And I had a fourth cousin who lived to be 104 and was in Times Magazine, decorated Confederate back in the 40s, I think. He had 50s. He had a big birthday party, and honored by the president and all that. So on my mother's side, I've got the lineage, you see, and that's very honored in the South. You know, to have your ancestors have been in the Civil War. It's kind of like royalty. It's mythic royalty. It's kind of like the nobility in England, that you trace your lineage back through these land holdings, holdings of land, you know, and I watch these British mysteries, and they're all about these families with these grievances from the past, and maybe they're still licking a wound that happened 400 years ago that wasn't forgotten, and the families still continue the feud, you see. So it's this unhealed wound that generates this fixation that gets reenacted through time. And gradually the hold of it, the power of it begins to relax. And I think we may be in that time now where the relax of the mythic cause, the lost cause, is relaxing. And people could contemplate taking down the statues that fix our culture in the past. And I know everybody says, well, you know, this is not about race. There's, you know, they give different reasons for it and why it should be okay and all that. That's fine. But I'm just saying that time heals, and we seem to be in a revolutionary time now in many ways, when the grip of the past and our mythology of America and the mythology of restoring America, restoring the South, and the South will rise, all that stuff. America will rise again is synonymous with the South will rise again. The Southern Republican Army, and Trump is its Southern general who will charge the federal hordes and reduce the federal army by killing its budget, you see, and starving it to death. That whole thing, you know, is just like Trump is Don Quixote, and the federal government is the dragon that he's going to kill. And he's just got a budget out there now that will slay the dragon. And let's see how that goes, you see. So you slay the dragon by taking away its food, which is taxes. And this has been the Southern Republican, you know, libertarian way of attacking the dragon. So anyway, this is not so much about politics, but just about looking at it from a different angle of we're at this time where we are contemplating the impossible idea of taking down the Confederate God, the Confederate knight who killed our dragons and was so honorable and valiant to die for a lost cause. Thanks for dropping in.